Welcome back to the Lingua Loom. Today we're going to start another episode of the semantic series, which is polysemy. So one word, many meanings, but not by accident. Every meaning grew from the same root, connected by a traceable thread of semantic history. This is language expanding from the inside out. So before starting a topic, please do like, subscribe and share and do comment, as your comment means a lot for us. So let's start the topic. The core idea, let's first look at it. One word growing into many meanings, all connected together. Unlike homonymy, where multiple meanings share the form by pure historical accident, polysemy is a structured, motivated phenomena. A single word extends its meaning over time through metaphor, metonymy, specialization, or generalization. The meanings multiply, but they remain connected. If you trace any polysemous word sense back far enough, you find a single root from which everything else grew. Polysemy is one of the most studied topics in lexical semantics and cognitive linguistics precisely because it reveals how human mind extends and organizes meaning. So it is in this, like other lexical relations, meaning were not actually much connected, but in polysemy, the meanings of the different words are connected. So the foundation, what is polysemy? The terms come from Greek polis, which means many, plus sema, which means sign or meaning. So polysemy is the linguistic phenomenon whereby a single lexical item, one word forms with one etymological origin, acquires multiple distinct but historically and semantically related senses over time. So the crucial distinction from homonymy is that in polysemy all the senses are connected as shown here. So they share the same common historical source and traceable conceptual link. The word head can mean the body part at the top of the body, the head of the company, the head of the river, and the head of the bed. But all three senses are motivated by the same underlying concept, the top or leading part of something. So the connection is that what makes this polysemy, not homonymy. Polysemy is not quirk or an exception, it is a normal condition of words in natural language. The Oxford English Dictionary documents hundreds of polysemous words, many with dozens of related senses. It is more accurate to say that homosemous words with only one sense are the exception, not the rule. So let's move forward. So the academic definition is polysemy is the association of a single phonological form with two or more related senses. The sense must be traceable to a common origin and connected by a coherent semantic motivation, distinguishing polysemy from homonymy where multiple senses are historically unrelated. So this is the definition of polysemy, that the senses of different words are connected to one another. Their meanings are connected, like head of the company, head of the state. They all show that someone is at the top, like the head is at the top of the body. So the four mechanisms of sense extension. Polysemy does not happen randomly. There are four well-documented mechanisms by which a word's meaning extends to new senses. So let's look at them. The first one is metaphorical extension, mapping a concrete domain onto an abstract one. Well, this is the most productive mechanism of polysemy. Mechanism or mechanism, you can say both. The word from a concrete physical domain is extended to describe something abstract because of perceived similarity in structure, function, or relationship. The physical meaning is the source, the abstract meaning is the target. So this is the mechanism behind George Lakoff and Mark Johnson's foundational work in Metaphors We Live By, written in 1980. What they showed is that polysemy through metaphor is not decorative linguistic trait. It is a normal way of abstract concepts or structured using concrete experience. So these are the examples, like head of the body, head of a company, then foot, body part, then foot of a mountain, then grasp, physically hold something or grasp an idea. Here it shows a sort of metaphor. So this is an example of Urdu, Dil, which is organ, heart, and Dil, emotional center, which is love. So these are the metaphors, like how you use them. Polysemy. Then let's look at the second one, metonymic extension, which is using one aspect of a concept to stand for the whole, or vice versa. Metonymy is the extension of a word's meaning based on contiguity, real-world association rather than similarity. Part for whole. Well, this is one of the important concepts to remember. Part for whole. In metonymy, container of concept, cause for effect, produces for product. These are the classic metonymic patterns documented by Lakoff and Johnson and elaborated by Barcelona in 2003. So unlike metaphor, which crosses domain, metonymy operates within a single conceptual domain. The word does not travel to a new domain, it moves to a different aspect of the same domain. So these are the examples. The White House announced, well, the building standing for the institution housed within it. She read Shakespeare all evening. Well, she was not reading Shakespeare, she was reading books by Shakespeare, so it covers all the author's work. Well, it depends on what she is reading, but if Shakespeare is said, that means that it is book of Shakespeare. I need a hand. Well, you do not need a body part or to cut off someone's hand and use it. You want a hand to help you in some activity. Then kettle is boiling. Well, the kettle is not actually boiling. It is just a statement which is metonymy. The water inside it, that is boiling. Then the third one, specialization, which is narrowing a general meaning becomes restricted to a specific domain. So, also known as semantic narrowing, occurs when a word with broad general meaning develops a more specific restrictive sense in certain domains. The new sense is narrower than the original. The original general meaning may persist alongside the specialized sense, producing polysemy. So these are the example: doctor, old in Old English, any learned person, but now specialized in medical practitioner specifically. Then deer, Old English deer, any wild animal, then narrowed down to specific servine animal. Then hound, any dog, but specified to hunting dog. Liquor, Latin liquor, any liquid, but now specialized to alcoholic drinks. So this is how this is about. The some polysemy words are specialized and they're used in certain situations, not always. Then generalization, which is broadening, is a reverse process of specialization. It is a word with a restriction, specific meaning, expand to cover a broader range of reference. So this is a common process in everyday language. Words that begin as brand names, place names, or specific technical terms. Say example of bird, Old English, this one, bird, specifically a young bird, but broadened to any avian creature. Then picture originated as painting, but now any visual image, even photo or film. Yes, for example, you say, I'm going to watch a picture. So it's referring to film. Then thing, Old English. This is the term for a thing. then brought into any entity or object. So these are how terms are generalized. Then let's map the senses. Let's look at the first one, which is head. Oh, okay, we'll look at one by one at each. Head, the uppermost body part. And head body part, here it is, as you can pause it and read it thoroughly if you want to. It is body part, then head of an organization. It is metaphorical extension. Then head of a river, again metaphorical extension. And you can use head of a bed, head unit of counting. Like this is the example 50 head of cattle. Let's look at another example, run. Run, it is to move rapidly on foot. Primary sense, then metaphorical extensions are run, to manage or operate. Then to flow, and then run a score unit, score a run in cricket match or basketball or baseball. Then run a sequence, like this is the example, a run of bad luck or a run of good luck, a run on the bank. Let's look at another example, bright. Bright is luminous, full of light, then bright, intelligent, then bright, vivid in color. Other is bright, cheerful. Mouth. Well, the mouth first, facial opening, part of the body, then mouth of the river, then mouth of a bottle, then mouth, speech or speaking, watch your mouth, or she has a big mouth, these kind of terms. Now let's look at deep. Deep, physical depth. This is physical depth, and that a deep lake, deep hole like this, and deep, intellectually profound, a deep thinker. Then deep, intense, emotional. Then deep, dark, color, deep red, these all the terms. Then we'll look at another one from Urdu. Ankh, physical eye, that is body part. Then ankh lagna, which is to fall asleep. Then Ankukatara, which is beloved or cherished person. Ankh rakhna, to have hope, to keep an eye. And for other two terms like Zabon and Dil, comment down below what do you think that their senses are. The critical boundary, which is polysemy versus homonymy, the diagnostic test. Before starting, please do like, subscribe and share, and do comment too. I do not know why people don't comment, as it will help us a lot and it will encourage us to do much more for the channel too. So let's look at polysemy and homonymy. Polysemy is related senses, one word, connected history, whereas homonymy is unrelated senses, two words, different histories. So polysemy etymological test is all senses trace back to the same historical origin, whereas an etymological test of homonymy is the two senses have different historical origins. Polysemy semantic connection test is a clear, motivated conceptual link can be drawn between the core sense and each extended sense. In homonymy, no coherent, motivated conceptual link exists between the senses. Okay, native speaker intuition. Speakers typically feel the multiple sense belong to the same word, whereas in homonymy, speakers typically experience the two senses as belong to different words. They do not feel a connection. So these are the example. Had part of a body, which is had also had of company, had of a river. Well, they are sort of connected, so it's polysemy. Whereas bank, one is financial institution, the other one is bank of the river, so no connection, so it is homonymy. So the honest caveat from the scholarly literature is Cruz in 2004 explicitly acknowledged that homonymy and polysemy boundaries is not always clear-cut. Etymological records are often incomplete. Native speakers' intuitions vary. Some cases like crane, which is bird versus machine, can be analyzed either way depending on whether you accept the historical naming connections as constituting polysemy. The distinction is a continuum, not a binary. Treating it as absolute is a pathological simplification. So Cruz had that there is no clear-cut boundaries as no exact and accurate knowledge about the etymology of a word is present. So to say that one is clearly homonymy and other is clearly polysemy, that is like not doing justice to the word. So from one core, many branches. So this is the same an example, but these are more visible and very much nicely written. Had body part, had a company, had a river, had a bank, had count, then run. One is to move rapidly, run a company. Then tap runs, a cricket, a score in cricket, which is a run. Then a run of bad luck. Now let's look at one or two examples. Zaban, which is physical tongue, a language, then a verbal promise, Zaban dena. Sharp tongue, Zaban daraz. People who speak Urdu. And let's look at polysemy in context. Well, context selects the sense. Unlike homonymy, where meanings are unrelated, polysemy creates a different challenge. The sense are related, so context must select an appropriate degree or direction of the word's meaning. So let's look at it. Had body. She is an example. She hit her head on the low door frame. While her head is body part, head on and door frame are physically incompatible with the organizational geographical sense. You can read out the explanation. Then head leader. The head of the committee resigned this morning. Another example is had the expedition finally reached the head of the river. Then run. These three are head, these three are of run. Run move. She ran the last mile of the marathon in under 6 minutes. Then run. She has run the company successfully for 12 years. Then run flow. The river runs straight through the valley for 40 kilometers. Well, these are how the terms are used in different sentences, which shows the relation. Then polysemy in Urdu. Let's look at Urdu examples. First one, hath, which is hand. Core meaning is physical hand. Then these are its polysemies. The hand, which is physical body part. Then hath ana, to come into one's possession. Then hath dalna, to begin a task. Then hath utana, to raise hand in prayers. Then hath badana, to assist someone. Okay, let's look at what's written there. Okay, we'll read the explanations later. First, let's look at the example. Then we have already discussed it. Zuban already discussed. Dil again discussed above. So we'll look at this terms. In Dil, all sense is connected through the metaphor. Emotion is, well, this is the metaphor. Emotion is physical organ. Well, when we'll be discussing metaphor, conceptual metaphors, you'll clearly understand it, that how metaphors, the source and target is selected to build metaphors, that how they're constructed. Here, emotions are treated as physical organ. The physical heart as a source domain, all emotional senses as targets, classical metaphorical polysemy. And tongue language is a universal polysemy pattern found across dozens of languages. The physical organ of speech stands for the system of speech itself. Then again, oi polysemy in Urdu is extensive and poetically exploited. The ghazal's beloved is consistently described through ankh. This. Every extensions carry the core concept of seeing, attention, and surveillance, metaphorical polysemy throughout. Then ankh demonstrates how a single word can be the root of an entire network of idiomatic extensions. Each idiom activates a different aspect of hand control, initiation, violence, surrender, and assistance, which polysemy. And these are the other two, which is rah, which means path or way. Then this one is og, which means fire. So let's look at these. Rahi is a physical road, then a method or approach. The third one is to wait for someone. Rahdik, no. Then Rah Nama, a guide. Then spiritual path, whereas fire, the physical combustion phenomena. Then Aag Lagana, to incite trouble. Then Gusse ki aag, intense passion. Aag bagola hona, to be consumed with rage. Then Ishq ki aag, burning desire or longing. So these are the explanation. Path polysemy is among the most universal patterns across world languages, documented in English, Way, Arabic, Tariq, Hindi, Rasta, Urdu, Rah. Physical path, then it goes to method, then moving forward to spiritual journey, all metaphorical extension from the same source domain. Then Og, fire, this one is the source domain for an entire network of emotional metaphors in Urdu. Anger is fire, love is fire, and trouble is fire. All documented instances of conceptual metaphor producing lexical polysemy. Then let's look at polysemy across languages. Well, there are different languages. Example, this overlapped. I'll just look at universally documented tongue language, a physical tongue as metonymy. All languages documented in English tongue, French langue, Arabic lisan, Hebrew lason, Urdu zaban, Swahili lugha, in Latin lingua. Physical organ, the activity it performs, the system of that activity. Whereas oi, understanding, this is the metaphor, seeing is understanding, is one of the most universal conceptual metaphors documented by Switzer. I see what you mean, English. And these are the example in Arabic and Urdu. Okay, let's vision, mental comprehension across languages. Then these are example from German, Zug. In Germany, richly polysemous, a train transportation, a draught of air, a pull or tug, a military campaign, a chess move, a breath, a trait or characteristic, all connected through the same core concept of movement or pulling. Then in French, courir, a French verb which means to run. Polysemy shows polysemy parallel to English run. Well, these are the terms and examples in French language. Then this is the example from Arabic, and which is I, body part, spring of water, spy, or identity. So these are the polysemy of the term an. Then Turkish goz, which is eye in English meaning, a physical eye, a mesh of net, a compartment, a cell, a spring of water, a bead of a necklace. So this shows that how different meaning emerge from the single word. Polysemy is not an inconvenient complication of a lexicon. It is evident of the most fundamental property of human language, the capacity to extend, recombine, and reuse a finite set of resources to cover an infinitely large range of meanings. So this is the whole crux of this lecture, that polysemy, it is not like a load or huge amount of words. This is just few words that give a lot of meaning. Depends on how you use the word, how you combine it alongside with other words to give or create new meaning. So that's it for today. I hope you understand it. Please do like, subscribe, and share, and do comment. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.